Welcome back to day 3 of the baseball winter meetings here in Indianapolis. Cold and snowy Indianapolis, but it's nice and toasty warm here at the Marriott Hotel. I'm Geoff Baker of the Seattle Times, along with colleague Larry Stone of the Seattle Times. Been a frantic afternoon for Mariners fans. We can tell you that starting pitcher Rich Harden has signed a 1-year deal plus an option with the Texas Rangers. He's not going to be coming to Seattle to pitch for the Mariners. The Rangers signed him today. I'd say roughly an hour ago, there was an agreement reached in principle on a 1-year deal. We're told it's worth $7.5 million, and then there's supposedly a club option after that for 1 year at $11 million and change. And this is going to come as a big surprise to Mariners fans, because the Mariners were in hard on Rich Harden. They have been going hard after most of this week, but you know, there's always reasons why teams don't do these kinds of things, and we've been hearing different things as we walk the hallways here in Indianapolis. So let's share some of them. Larry, $7.5 million doesn't sound like a whole lot of money for the Mariners to give up to get a pitcher of Harden's quality. What are some of the reasons you think the Mariners were outbid by the Rangers?
Well, I was hearing, Geoff, that there was some kind of escalator clause regarding the second year that the Mariners didn't like. And, you know, there's still the health risks with Rich Harden. As somebody said to me, he might have to spend a week at the Mayo Clinic doing physicals before this thing is approved.
How about this idea? You take Eric Bedard for the first half of the season and pitch Rich Harden for the second half.
There you go.
And then you'll have a quality starting pitcher.
Or maybe Rich Harden for the first 3 innings and Eric Bedard for the second 3 innings, and then you go to the bullpen. Every game.
Or you could call up some of those minor league relievers, Omar Fields, and you could have Arsman Lowe in there, and you could just have them close out the final 6 innings of every game.
I'm beginning to like that idea.
All right, we should be the general managers. Anyway, let's get back to reality here. Escalator clauses, I mean, what does that mean exactly? Let's explain that to people.
Well, I'm not exactly sure. I assume that it means something to do with the second year, whether it's a vesting option that kicks in for a high base salary for year 2 of the contract, or something along those lines.
Linked to incentives as well. Usually linked to innings pitched, right. Linked to different milestones that a pitcher targets that a pitcher who's injury prone will try to hit to get more money.
And it seems to me that that's a fair way to do a deal for a guy like Rich Harden, who has tremendous upside but tremendous risk as well. So, you know, he wants to be rewarded if he has a good year and he stays healthy, and that's to be understood. But apparently, we don't know for sure whether this was a preference by Harden. Maybe he wanted to pitch for Texas.
Not many pitchers coming off injuries want to go pitch in Texas, although the ballpark has calmed down a little bit in recent years when it comes to home run totals and things like that.
He does have a connection with Ron Washington from his Oakland days. I don't know if that meant anything. He also has connection to some Mariner coaches too.
And he grew up about 3 hours away from Seattle in British Columbia.
Exactly. Seattle made a lot of sense. I mean, I think this is a blow to the Mariners. This is a guy that really, in my opinion, would have been a key acquisition for this offseason. A guy that they, if healthy, could really, be the number 2 pitcher that they're looking for behind Felix Hernandez, and now that's back to the drawing board for that, and there's really not that many good candidates out there. I'm not really sure exactly where you turn at this point to get the 2/number 3 starter. I don't think it's there on the free agent market. I think they're going to have to go to the trade route.
Let's get off pitchers for a moment. Let's go back to what else happened today. Scott Boras, the agent for Adrian Beltre, and a handful of others, including Matt Holliday, came walking through the lobby and had his annual winter meeting scrum with reporters. We managed to sneak in there, ask him a few questions, and let's hear what he had to say about Adrian Beltre.
Certain third basemen, certain clubs want to move or transfer from another position, and that creates opportunities for Adrian. And we've had probably 5 or 6 teams that have expressed interest in him.
Okay, as you heard in the clip, Larry, Scott Boras mentions 5 or 6 teams that are after Adrian Beltre. I'm hearing that the Boston Red Sox are going to take a look at Beltre and possibly consider moving Mike Lowell out of the third base position. What other teams have you heard about?
Well, kind of a stealth team is the Minnesota Twins, who have a need for third baseman, but they're probably out of the price range. There's the Angels.
The Angels would be one,
but they seem to be leaning towards going young with Brandon Wood, the young player. The Giants.
For me, the Giants make a whole lot of sense.
The Giants make a lot of sense. They got Pablo Sandoval, who's not a real gazelle there at third base. If they would move over to first. They have money issues, though. I don't think they're going to get into a big bidding war or pay big contracts. That might not be the deal that he's looking for as well. So it's hard to say if he will fall back to the Mariners at a reasonable rate or not. I don't think Scott Boras is going to do that lightly, because he's going to look for a multi-year lucrative deal that the Mariners don't have to give him because they have their third baseman.
Moving on now, we'll get away from third base for a second. A lot of interesting things that have been said here at the winter meetings, not necessarily done. We haven't seen a whole lot of deals happen here, but we've heard a lot of things said back and forth in the corridors. We've heard it from people who cover the teams that are involved. We've heard it from people who work for the teams involved. One of those intriguing scenarios for me involves Jason Bay. And now I know it's been the subject of a lot of discussion on the blog, a lot of controversy on the blog, because let's face it, he comes at a very high price tag at 4 years, $60 million. That looks to be out of the Mariners' range, but you look at the market that's developing here, and we heard Boras talking earlier today about Matt Holliday and the possibility of a market opening up for him. We've seen people in Boston say that there's a possibility of a market opening for Matt Holliday with the Red Sox. Now, it's possible the Red Sox have decided that Jason Bay really doesn't want to play there anymore, and his heart's not into it, and maybe they're moving on. Maybe not. They've got that offer out there to him. But what happens if they go after Matt Holliday and sign him, throw Jason Bay aside? You learned some stuff today about the Angels and whether they would pursue Jason Bay.
Yeah, Mike Scioscia did his address today with the media, and he had very interesting comments when he was asked about Bay. He pretty much dismissed the possibility. I mean, he said, we've got other priorities. He's not real high on our list. We think he's a great player, but when it comes to allotting our resources, we're going to right now we want to go in other directions, and to me that means that either they're going real hard after Roy Halladay, or they need that money to get John Lackey slash Vladimir Guerrero slash Darren Oliver, their own free agents, back after losing Sean Pickett. So you take the Angels off the market, and in your scenario you take the Red Sox off the market.
All of a sudden there is no market for Jason Bay, no big spending market anyway for Jason Bay, and then in swoops Seattle, and all of a sudden you're looking at the possibility of a market just crashing through the floor for this player, and we're talking and looking, no offense to Jason Bay, but he could go from a $60 million price tag down to $30 million, down to whatever teams are willing to pay at that rate. And
I don't think it's going to go that low.
Maybe not that low.
But he is, throwing the factor that we've said all along, that he wants to play for Seattle, that he lives in Seattle, and there's a realistic scenario.
I mean, there's an incentive right there. There is no sales job the team really has to do on Jason Bay in Seattle. The question becomes then how much money, how many years to the contract. When I talk about going down to $30 million, I mean, perhaps you drop the number of years. Perhaps you're going after a 3-year deal at that point. Perhaps you're limiting your exposure over the long term of the contract.
There's some appeal to that too, and you don't have the huge outlay of cash, and Jason Bay can possibly look at another turn on the free agent market at an age where he can get another big contract if he performs.
But we're still a long way from that. I mean, we're speculating here, but you have the Angels saying they're not interested. You have the Red Sox perhaps turning their focus to Matt Holliday. It's a possibility that's out there, and I'll tell you what, Jack Zarinsek, as you know, he's a pretty shrewd general manager, and I guarantee you he's thought of this scenario. We can tell you the Mariners have spoken to base people. They have been interested in him, but maybe they're just not interested in him at $60 million, and they're waiting for the price tag to drop as they pursue other bats and see what happens, because there's been a lot of waiting and seeing, as you know, at these meetings.